Welcome to another episode of our personal empowerment audio program, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder. And our program today is about love in its many different aspects. Small L love, large L love. We're calling today's show Heart and Soul.
I personally can speak as one who was confused for years about this whole idea. And I got to tell you, this Christian admonition about loving your enemy really never made any sense to me at all. Everybody that called themselves Christians seemed to agree that it's a good thing. But then they'd be in favor of war and dropping bombs on people they never even met. So I always got that nobody was really very serious about it. And maybe that's because nobody really understood what it means to love your enemy. Well, today we're going to talk about heart and soul, two very different approaches to that word love, two very different definitions, I guess, connotations or denotations of what love's really all about. And I think it's best if we just start with the much better known emotional love in its many forms. You can love somebody in a romantic way, but the way you love your children or love your parents or your Aunt Mary or Uncle Harry is very different. Even the way you kiss each other is honest, very, very, very different. So let's talk a little about emotional love, and then we'll graduate from the heart to the soul.
Yeah, on the bottom of all of that, I guess, is sort of animal lust. You know, I mean, you got to start with that. All animals share this wanting to procreate and make, more babies kind of thing.
Baby, oh baby.
Yeah. I mean, there is that, and that flows over. We humans are animal on some level, but of course we're different than most animals. I mean, in a lot of different ways, and one of them is we don't really go into heat. Or some guys are always in heat.
Spock did.
Oh, that's right. PEN I think it was called, as I recall. But every 7 years. We don't really do that, but we do have periods of our life, of course, when we're much more, for young boys, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, it's the only thing they're thinking about. And then I hear women come into their sexual prime in their late 20s, early 30s. So we have periods when sex is more significant and more important. But it's at the foundation, but it's a lot of the animal part of what love is. The human part of what love is something a little bit grander, I think, a little bit more wonderful than just the, push and shove of sex. The human kind of love, the love you have for your children or for your spouse or for your parents, that kind of love feels like it comes from a heart place rather than from a groin place. It physically feels different. And it's really about caring for other than yourself. There's a feeling of caring for other people as much or as more than yourself in its grandest form. But unfortunately, I think emotional love gets confused with this I need you, this I can't live without you, you complete me, without you, I'm not. That kind of thing isn't really love. That's kind of like a lack of self-love and looking to fill your lack of self-love with somebody else's love. But as one of my favorite lines I ever wrote, it goes, all love flows through your own love for you. So if you don't love yourself, it doesn't matter how much somebody else is trying to love you. You're not going to let that love in.
And I'm afraid even today, most people will live their lives, grow old, and pass on without ever really understanding this basic concept that love is a response. Like all of your emotions, it's in you and it comes out of you in the presence of someone or something that you love. I would often demonstrate this to clients in private sessions and students in classrooms by asking rhetorically the question, if you had a puppy or a little kitten and it really seemed to love you, the puppy was licking your face, the kitten was curled up in your lap and purring as you pet it, where is that love coming from? And it mystified the vast majority of people, and they think, well, why is he asking? It's obviously coming from the animal. Well, wait a minute, maybe it's not coming from me. Maybe it's from me. Well, gosh, Steve, about half of the people would say, I don't know. I don't know where that love comes from. And, of course, it's a loaded question because it doesn't come from anywhere. It's more the object of our love stimulates the love that's in us. And if we think of love as a commodity that we could pass around, like, here, if you give me some love, then I'll have some love from which I can return that love. But you have to give it to me, and then I'll give it back to you. Sometimes people will say, I will love you, provided you love me. Well, that's conditional love. To me, sort of a contradiction in terms. Is it really love if you need to be appreciated or paid back? I think this is why people scratch their heads and faced with this simple question. You love that puppy loves you. Tell me where it came from, right? And then I would lead into, well, then why is it that two lonely, empty people with no love in their lives can come together and promise to love each other? Where are you going to get that love if you're both empty? And if it comes from you, then why do you need the other person? Why can't you just love yourself? And what is self-love? Especially self-love where there's no egotism or self-centeredness involved. So these are some of the questions I think we need to ask before we can go to soul-based love.
So we take a look at that question. I really enjoyed that concept of thinking about, well, if you've got a puppy or a bunny rabbit and it's like, in your arms and you're feeling all this incredible love, where's the love coming from? Is it coming from you or the bunny rabbit? Well, the first thought that popped into my mind is, if I'm holding in my hands like a great buttered croissant, and I love this croissant, where's the love? Clearly it's not coming from the croissant. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is that I'm expressing my love to or at or from. It's my love I'm expressing. It's not the bunny's love. Because, or the dog's love. The dog feels love for me. I'm certain my dogs, for sure, I know, feel love for me inside their own bodies. But I can't feel their love. I can't feel their emotions. I can't feel anything of what they're feeling. I can only guess what they're feeling. But I can feel my love for myself stimulated by their loving for me. It's like if you're in a room with two pianos and you play the C note on one piano, the other C note on the other piano vibrates in harmony. It's like I feel the love of my puppy dogs, but I'm not feeling their love. I'm feeling that my love for me being stimulated by it. So the coolest thing is, to whatever extent I love myself, that's how much love from my puppy dogs I'll let in to me. And to whatever extent I don't love myself, if I'm in a really bad place and I'm in this is not me, but I mean, if someone is in a really bad place and they're just feeling very little self-love, self-esteem, their puppy dogs could love the heck out of them, but they're just going to not really get it. They're not going to really feel it. You can only let in as much love as you have for yourself. If you love yourself on a 1 to 10 like a 4, and somebody else loves you an 8, you can only get 4 in. They can be giving you 8, but only 4 is going to get through. So all love flows through your own love for you. All the love you experience, whether it's for buttered croissants or puppy dogs or that incredible one, the mate, the soul mate that you found that is the specialist one in your life, it's still your love for yourself that you're feeling inside of you.
I'll always remember one particular client I had 25 years ago, and it was one of these sad sack stories. I really did have sympathy for this fellow. He had such a series of misfortune, like his best
country
friend,
music song almost.
It was like that. His best friend moved away, and then he got fired from a job that he'd been at for a long time. And then to top it all off, his dog died unexpectedly, hit by a car or some tragic thing. And he was just devastated. And I worked on the dog. That's where we started, was the dog. And again, the question, was the dog a source of your love or the object of your love? And at first he said both, and I went, all right, then let's go with that. If it's both, choose one and let's talk about it, right? And he chose source. The dog is the source of my love. That dog really loved me, and now I feel the loss. I said, I believe the loss is real, and I believe that dog felt the emotion. There's a lot of evidence now, by the way, that dogs really, well, animals in general, really do have emotions for their human keepers, but also for each other.
Now, fear is pretty obvious in a lot of animals.
And the love has increasingly been validated by research. We didn't know that even 10 or 15 years ago, but animals do have emotions. That's pretty much been validated now. So I don't doubt that. But the love that you feel and the loss that you feel is yours. And that's confusing, especially when you're grieving this loss, and certain that if the dog could be reanimated and run back into the room, everything would be fixed. I'd have this love in my life again. I said, well, what if you imagine the dog?
Yeah, exactly. You dream about the dog, you have the same exact experience.
Or go find another dog at the shelter that's got that sad look and used to have somebody to care for it, and now, for whatever reason, has been abandoned. And couldn't you receive love from that dog too? Well, yeah, if I loved the dog. Exactly, right? Now, for whatever reason, I think this is easier to understand with animals than with people. Now it gets really complicated with that. At any age, I just need someone to love me. I really, really need someone to fill this empty space. Or people will say, to complete me, to make me whole.
But, when we're born, we really do. I mean, we really do need someone. I mean, it's not like we made that up out of thin cloth. We do, for a period of our time, really need somebody to fill us up. To fill us up with milk, to fill us up with love, with touch. If we don't get that, if we don't get that touch, that affection, that caring, that bonding thing, we don't become human. So we do, for a period of time, actually need someone to love us. The problem is we have to break that habit at some point in our life.
Well, that's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought it up. Children are codependent. Children do depend upon other people.
And we're born so early in our, development stage that we can't even do anything when we're born. So.
Right. The idea that you get a baby in 9 months, well, it's actually a lot more than that. At 9 months, it's born into the world, but it continues brain development until it's 6 or 7 years old. Only then does it really begin to objectify and to see the world as more than this thing that revolves around me.
And then everything changes at puberty again. So, it's like there's a continual process.
Yeah, what Gail Sheehy called those passages, right? That we go through. But Steve's right. There's a point where we're supposed to mature beyond the dependence. And codependence just means everybody in the relationship is doing it. Beyond the dependence of I need you, now we may always want someone in our lives because we are social critters, and even if you're taking responsibility for being loved and loving and lovable, you still want to share that with somebody. And so what that means to be emotionally independent is I have this love to share. I want this relationship. I don't really need it anymore. I'm not depending on it. But it's so much fun to exchange love and to think of it less as a commodity that you pass around or swap out or trade than a magnetic field that you both stand in and contribute to. My love is radiant. Your love is radiant. If we love each other, we're standing in each other's electromagnetic field of radiance, and these fields add together. You can see this in electromagnetism if you just study elementary physics. The nature of electromagnetic fields, they can either cancel each other out, or if they're in phase, they can multiply each other, right? And sometimes love is just so sweet and ecstatic that you can feel your love being multiplied by the presence of someone else who says the same thing. Yeah, when I'm with you, my love for you is just enhanced and increased. But those are two very different paradigms. Love as a commodity, which the vast majority of people believe in and really get no further. It's sort of childish. I need food. I need clothing. I need shelter from you, mommy, daddy. I need knowledge and understanding. I need your love, your approval, your acceptance. Well, when you grow up and mature, you don't need those things. You become independent, and love is part of that. To be independent is to say, it's not a commodity or an exchange or a swap. We're all radiating love, and there's something special about your vibration and my vibration, the way they amplify each other.
And there are unique amplifications, unique relationships that amplify in unique ways. A mom and her baby, a father and his daughter or his son, is a very different kind of love than any other kind of love, but it's unique and it's radiant, and you can see how both mommy and baby just light up with joy when they're together. It's a very powerful experience. Much different, though, than the experience of being with your beloved, your soulmate or whatever you want to call it, the one whom you've chosen to spend your life with. That feeling of in love, you really don't say you're in love with your children. You love your children, but you're not like that in love that... I always objected to the concept of falling in love. When I first met the love of my life, I wrote her a poem called Rising in Love, because to me it felt like I was greater, I was bigger. I wasn't losing, I wasn't falling, I wasn't losing control, I was gaining control. And the biggest shift in that in love kind of love thing is, and this is sort of where it starts to cross over to the borderline of that more higher divine love, is when the you and the me become an us, become a we, become almost a thing, almost like an entity. And then we start to move, like we becomes more important than you and me, and we start to move into the realm, at least, of that higher kind of love.
That's exactly why marriage in most religions is treated as a sacrament or a spiritual, union, a coming together, where the we or the us is always superior to the me or the you.
Now, the me is not more important than the you is not more important than the me. It's the we is more important to you and me than you or me.
And so the union is a new institution. It's like a third element,
right,
that is more than any one of us alone. And both of us were bachelors for a long time. I'll speak for myself. I really enjoyed being a bachelor. There were a lot of advantages to it. I won't name them, but I could. I could go down a long list. But there was also a downside, which was I was missing having a partner, somebody who was with me through thick and thin, whose love was unconditional, whose commitment was extraordinary. I wanted that sense of team, of something bigger than just me. And I was in my mid to late 30s by that time. And then it took another 6-8 years for me to find a powerful woman, because I was always afraid of powerful women. For a long time, I was afraid of powerful women. I wanted relationships that I could control, right? But again, the downside is the same thing. I'm missing something. I don't have all that I could have here. The team, if you're going to build a team, you want all the best players you could possibly have. You don't want weak people that don't have assertiveness or self-esteem, that don't believe in themselves, not on my team. So I finally matured to the point where I got that, and I've never been happier as a married person, much happier than I was as a bachelor. But that was all part of my maturing process, right? And overcoming the fear of love, as odd as that may sound. Wait a minute, I thought they were opposites. Isn't fear the absence of love? Yeah, but there's also the fear of what you don't know about love that we have to face courageously, step into, then begin to understand. And that's what we're sharing with you. Again, one of those big understandings, and even though we tell you about it, you now are in the process of realizing what we're saying. Love doesn't come from other people. Love is not done to you. You're not a target, and with apologies to the Eagles, you're not a victim of love. It radiates from you. Love is radiatory, but it's also magnetic. This is really powerful. I could make an argument that it's cohesive and redemptive as well, but I don't want to go into those tracks right now. How about just it radiates like a signal from a radio tower emanates out into the world, or light radiates from a light bulb, or warmth radiates from an electric heater of some sort. It emanates, it radiates, and it's magnetic. And like attracts like. In the spiritual dimension, like attracts like.
Takes one to know one, they say.
What do you love about the person? Why do you love that? Confucius and Jung both talk about things about other people that irritate you the most reveal really yourself, not them. Well, in the same way, things you really, really love about other people, how would you recognize it, or how would you know, unless it was something you came to learn to love and respect about yourself?
When I was exploring the idea of relationships, I too was quite mature before I got married, 47 years old, and I'd had a few short-term relationships, but never really committed, never really gave it my all because I didn't think it was the one. And I realized, like you say, it's radiatory. I mean, when I started really thinking about love and relationships, I realized it wasn't really additive. It wasn't like me and, it was more like multiplicative. It was more like me times kind of thing. Because I realized if I'm sort of like I've got half of my stuff together, I'm halfway there, and I meet somebody else who's got half their stuff together. I figure, well, if it was additive, we'd come together and make a whole relationship. But the truth is, it's multiplicative. And so, like, what happens is my half multiplies times her half, and you get half times a half is a quarter. You got a quarter of it. Because what you really do is show up the missing part of the other person. I mean, you really, like, make it very clear that they are not whole and you are not whole. And so it takes two whole people to really make a relationship. I thought for a long time that I was spending 47 years looking for the right woman. What I came to realize finally was that I had spent those 47 years, or invested those 47 years, becoming the right man. In my mind, I had an idea of the kind of woman I wanted to be with. She was very classy and very smart and very powerful and all that stuff. I wasn't qualified to be with a woman of that ilk, so I needed to grow, I needed to improve, I needed to make myself a better and better man before I was at that level where I was feeling worthy of a woman of that kind of quality. So it's a very powerful thing when you wait a long time. I'm a big advocate of not getting married too soon. I really don't think we're mature enough. Many women might be, but a lot of men never do mature, especially around 20, 25 years old. It's pretty difficult to find a lot of men that are really ready to make a lifelong commitment with all the changes that are going on. The kind of love that we're talking about, the intimate, passionate, lifelong, soulmate kind of love, the hopefully once-in-a-lifetime kind of love. I mean, I don't know that human beings are designed to mate for life, but it certainly is a wonderful thing when they can and do. And that kind of commitment creates the most powerful foundation for a marriage, for a relationship, and also for the children that might come out of it. That's really the reason I think we created this institution called marriage. I mean, I don't know what comedian said, marriage is a great institution, but who'd want to be in an institution? It's like, the reason we created this institution of marriage, even though it is sort of counterintuitive for us, is to take care of our children. And that kind of love, the love you have for your children, there's nothing really like that. That's somehow deeper. I don't know what percentage of spouses would die for their spouse, but I believe a much, much higher percentage would die for their children.
Well, you've doubled the size of your family on average also. And as you get older and you need people to care for you and help you out, it's good to have more people in your, as we say in Hawaii, ohana, the big family.
Right. Well, in the really poor parts of the world, you had to have lots and lots because most of them weren't going to survive, and you needed somebody to take care of you when you finally got old.
That's right. That's why poverty causes overpopulation.
Right.
People don't get that. They think too many people creates a shortage of food. It's the shortage of food that promotes overpopulation.
Exactly.
If your kids are dying, you're going to have a lot more kids. Gosh, I wish people understood that. It's such a simple concept and yet escapes most people. So let's make this leap now. How is all of this emotional love and romance and loving the dog and the kitten
and the croissant, don't forget the croissant.
And Aunt Mary and Uncle Harry, too. We've talked about the radiatory and the magnetic qualities of emotional love. Well, I think that's a good place to begin to describe spiritual love, which is also magnetic and radiatory in the same way. It's not a commodity. But I think the first distinction between heart and soul, between emotional and spiritual love, is spiritual love is always unconditional. There is no such thing as conditional love, as compassion or mercy or forgiveness. And there is no loss. There is no sadness. There is no heartbreak you see. There is no betrayal with spiritual love because the source is divine. In fact, this is the primary meaning in all religions and all philosophies. I'm sure we could find some exceptions someplace, Satanism or something, right? But essentially, it's true to say God is love. Jews say it, Christians say it, Buddhists say it, Hindus say it, Taoists say it, Sikhs say it, who have I left out? Islam, of course, and Muslims say it. God is love. Many have said love is the only thing that's real. That means that the whole universe is a creation or a manifestation somehow of unconditional love. And if you want to go home again, to go to heaven, to be with God or Jesus or whatever, the path would have to be a path of love. Christ said, I am the way and the light. The light is the understanding, the way being this love. Again, more than emotional love. How about forgiveness and compassion and mercy? How about refusing to frighten other people and refusing to be afraid of other people? How about a definition of spiritual love that says you only appear to be an other person, you're actually part of my ohana, this one big family called humanity, this one life that is the universe. You appear to be other because you're in a different body. Maybe you speak a different language. Your skin is a slightly different color, as if that matters somehow. You have different customs and beliefs, but you're really not another. You're different, but you're not opposite. There's no opposition here. Hawaiians say all part of the same rainbow.
It's like saying, well, I like this pinky finger on my left hand, but I don't really like this pinky finger on my right hand. This is a bad pinky finger.
It's backwards.
This one's doing it right. So the idea of thinking of us being us, like in a relationship, it's you and me becomes the us, but in the big L word, it's us, humanity, living things, even the animal kingdom, even the mineral kingdom, even the vegetable kingdom. It's all part of the big, we're all God. God blew itself up into an infinite number of pieces, and we're all parts of that. And so the real love it's the glue that holds all those pieces together. It's the cohesiveness. It's like every individual thing is a different piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and everyone looks different, has different DNA and all that stuff, but it all was part of the one big, giant, same jigsaw puzzle. And why would you love one piece of the jigsaw puzzle any more than the other piece without any single piece? It's an incomplete puzzle. We are all, although different and not the same as each other, we're all essential. We're all core. We're all part of what's needed to make the whole. So the idea of the big kind of love that I think you can enter through emotional love, through giving up, surrendering is the word they often use, of the ego and allowing yourself to be part of something bigger than you, whether it's just a marriage or a marriage and a family, or a marriage and a family and a community, or a marriage and a family and a community and a whole belief system. The size of the you, the size of the us, the size of the big L can be as big as you allow it to be. It used to be them and us, and now it really can be, it's just us, which of course is justice.
That's a beautiful irony. Man, you're rocking and rolling. That is so well said. So now we have that third element, that love is radiatory and magnetic, even on the emotional, human level. But Steve says it's cohesive as well. In other words, the ancient mystics from time out of mind have asked the riddle, how does the one, God is a totality of all that is, create the many without being diminished or even affected? Because if God is affected or diminished somehow, that's not much of a God, right? So how could God do that? How does the one create the many? How does unity manifest as diversity? And the middle element, the sun, if you will, between God the Father and Mother Earth, Mother Matter, the material world, that middle element is the heart and the soul. It's the love. It's the glue, Steve called it. That's exactly what it is. So radiatory, magnetic, and now cohesive as well. It is the glue that holds it together. So divinity, God, the totality, again, we got to get past this idea of a separate man-shaped being living very far away, right? It's an ocean. It's the totality of consciousness, everywhere equally present, like a radio wave. You don't have to move your radio around. Wherever the radio is, it'll pick up the signal if it's tuned to the right frequency, because the signal's everywhere, all right? Love is everywhere, equally present. It's radiating, it's magnetic, and now cohesive. It's sticky. It's the glue that holds things together. What is the energy that binds particles and waves? That is the interface, that is consciousness between spirit and matter. Love and consciousness are two words for the same thing. So that's very, very profound. And you can spend the rest of your life contemplating, what does that mean? Not just Steve and Michael say that, but that's in all philosophies, and as they say, all religions, especially the esoteric part of it, that love is consciousness. We have a universe, as Einstein said, of energy and mass, but there's another element. The energy and mass is conscious. It's clearly conscious in human beings and animals. It's got the appearance of consciousness in the vegetable kingdom, in plants. And many would argue the minerals are conscious as well. The Gaia concept, that the earth knows it's a planet. It's not conscious the way a plant is, a tree or a flower, that follows the sun across the sky, turns looking for the sun. It's certainly not as conscious as animals or human beings, but nevertheless, if it's part of the one life, and everything would have to be, right? What could stand outside of God? What kind of God have you got if there's something other than God? If something is not sacred or not divine, if it's not love, well, how powerful, how divine is this God that is responsible for most of the universe, but not this stuff over here?
Everything but hell. God didn't do hell. He did everything else except hell.
These are the questions religion often does not address, will not face. And I think that's why now we're up to over 30% of Americans defining themselves as spiritual but not religious. They're saying, my religion will not address these core existential questions, and yet I feel the love. I feel the longing. Like the plant that seeks the light and then tracks the sun turning across the sky. That consciousness, that love is in us. And so even if religion is not doing it, a third of American adults now say, well, can't really call myself religious, but I'm definitely spiritual.
Yeah, the concept that love really is all there is. It's just everything. We're God. God is love is God, and it's everything there is. Other stuff doesn't exist. I mean, it's imagination. For example, darkness doesn't really exist as a force. I mean, yes, darkness, but darkness is really just nothing more than the absence of the force called light. And cold, killing, freezing cold even exists, but simply as the absence of the force called heat. And I think evil, in the same way, exists as the absence of the force called love. You know, the shadow. It's the shadow. Shadow doesn't exist. It's the light being blocked by something. It doesn't really exist, but you see it. It manifests itself as the Plato's allegory of the shadows on the wall. If that's all you ever saw, that's what you would think was real. But the truth is that love is all that's real. The rest is imagination. Fear, false evidence appearing real is just false. It's just something we make up. But that doesn't make it any less scary. That doesn't make it any less difficult to deal with. But on a higher plane, once we get out of the small L, you know, I need you kind of love, and into that big L, I am you kind of love, the fear really disappears. The fear goes away. Once there's nothing to be afraid of except real, clear, and present danger, and we've got a fight or flight response to deal with that. So the big L love, the higher consciousness knows that we are love.
And finally, the fourth element, then, love is redemptive. Love changes things. Love improves, not just changes, but improves, uplifts, saves, redeems, makes things better. Love heals, right? We say laughter is the best medicine, proving that humor is a quality of love. Kindness is a quality of love. Kindness heals. Here, mommy will kiss your boo-boo. Let me take care of you. What's the doctor's bedside manner? All of these loving behaviors promote healing, caring for yourself, having faith. Faith healing. Faith heals. Love heals. It improves, it redeems, especially that quality of love we call understanding. I mean, knowledge is one thing, but to really understand something gives you a peace, right? And that feels like love and safety and relaxation, and now the body kicks it into gear. It's much more focused, and so you grow faster and more elegantly, and problems are best understood and resolved, and improved and uplifted. So those are the four elements of love that we're talking about today. It's magnetic, it radiates, it's cohesive, sticky, it's the glue that holds everything together, allowing the one to manifest as the many without becoming diminished in any way. And finally, it improves things. Love always makes things better.
Yeah, love is a wonderful thing. And where do you look for love? Where do you find love? The answer is in, The only real love that exists in your universe is inside of you, and that's where you look for it. You look inside. How do you look inside? Well, that's what finding yourself in paradise is really all about. Looking inside of yourself in this relaxed and focused and safe state of mind. We call it paradise. It's the alpha brainwave state. It's a state of focused passion, total focused concentration, amplified passionate interest, 100% of your conscious and subconscious minds, like coming together in a marriage and creating this wonderful, safe state that, by the way, is the natural state for the human being to be in. It's not normal anymore. Stress has become normal, but for most of human history, most uninspired people spent most of their life in boredom, punctuated by moments of high anxiety, and inspired people spent most of their life in fascination, punctuated by moments of high anxiety. But high anxiety, nervous, stressed, anxious states were once in a while when the wild animals were chasing us or when we were out of the tribe. But most of the time we felt safe, and most of the time in the world today, people don't feel safe even though they really are. But it's easy to feel safe, and when you do, all that's left is love. So you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, you hold it for a moment and release slowly, and what you'll find is the fear goes away, but the love is here to stay.
That's it. When you let go of fear held as muscular tension, when you breathe and relax and feel safe, everything that's unreal falls away. And what remains is real, and that's peace and love and awareness. Oh, I see the love and the light. So go there now. If you haven't already, close your eyes and relax. A few slow, deep breaths at first. Feel the letting go, especially as you exhale. And then as you allow your breathing to return to a natural rhythm, focus your attention gently on feeling a letting go feeling from head to toe. From the crown to the soles of your feet, feel safe and relaxed. Muscles unwinding like a spring winding down. Feel the letting go. Or think of yourself like the grandfather clock in the middle of a thunderstorm, whether the weather is calm and sunny, or whether a storm rages around you. Like the clock, you just feel the steady, even tick-tock, tick-tock. Peace is love. love is peace. There's no hurry. There's only now. Right here, in this very place, you are loved and loving and lovable.
And feeling the love that you have for you is really very, very easy to do. Just feel safe and allow it to come through. And for the deeper love, just feel part of the whole, and you'll feel the love that emanates from your soul. Part of the all. Part of the is. Part of everything that is bliss. Feel that you are love. Loved, loving, and lovable too. Feel all those attributes of love inside of you. Part of the whole, right from the soul. Feeling the deepest form of love. The kind that heals and makes you feel like whatever it is, you can rise above. To find the love you have for you is really just about the easiest thing you could possibly do. Just feel safe. And it comes right on through. And allowing yourself to feel part of the whole, you evoke the love that comes from your soul. And the more you feel, the more you allow, the more you let yourself grow. Love heals, love grows. You are love. You know.
You were made in the image of the source. What you sow, you will reap. And so if you wish to be loved, you must initiate love. Why be conditional and hold on to the love that's been given to you so freely without any condition whatsoever? Like the sun shining equally upon the sinner and the saint. Pass it on just as unconditionally. Give it away to those you love, to those you don't really care for and really don't even like. Love them anyway. And to your enemy, those that you believe may be a threat to you, refuse to be afraid of them. Refuse to frighten them. Consider that they suffer too as members of humanity. They also are going through the same trials and tribulations as you and everyone else. Empathize and forgive and experience compassion where in the past you stopped at anger. Move through that to forgiveness, compassion, and a quality of understanding that allows you to be a radiant, loving being. And as Emerson said, when you love, you will be loved. You will reap that harvest. But that's the order. If you desire to be loved so that you might love, you're working the program backwards. You want to gather into barns before you've sown a seed. You must give to receive. You must love to be loved. You must forgive to be forgiven. Initiate yourself as the one who initiates rather than reacts to your life. See it as being done not so much to you as emanating from you. Your love and life itself.
Love gives you a structure, gives you a lift. As Dylan said, it gives you a strong foundation when the winds of changes shift. Love is your foundation. It's who you really are. A being that emanates light, part of a star, part of the God, part of the all, part of the whole, part of the soul. That's you. That's love. You just need to be. You don't have to do anything to set the love free. Just stop doing some things like spending so much time in stress and anxiety and worry and tension and duress, and spend more time in paradise, safe and really free. There's a lot of love inside of yourself. Go there and you'll see.
Bring this awareness that you are love. That not only do you already have the love you've been looking for, but that that's who you are, that's what you are, that's that you are love. So simply bring that awareness with you as you reorient yourself through the sound of our voices to the world around you. Recalling what you'll see in a moment when you finally open your eyes, remembering the room in which you sit. And take a nice, slow, deep breath, filling your lungs. Hold now as you peak. Just for a moment, sense the fullness, and as you exhale there, open your eyes wide awake and alert back in the room, feeling fine, rested, refreshed, all full of love and just radiating it out like a sun, a star, without any condition or reservation whatsoever. Better than before.
You know, everybody says everybody's looking for love. Well, you know, there's a wonderful quote that says, what you are looking for is who is looking. You know, really, if you're looking for love, then look to yourself. Look to who you are, because at the core of who you are is love. You are love. And love is, in the small sense, the small L sense, it's a wonderful emotion that we can experience radiating around other people that we love and that love us. But it's our love for ourselves we're feeling. And in the big, grand, giant, capital L kind of love, it's feeling part of the whole. It's not being separate at all. It's realizing that life is a journey that's homeward bound.
Remember, you want to share what you love with someone you love. So log in to focusedpassion.com, and as soon as you're on your account page, right below the built-in player is a Share One with a Friend gadget that'll let you forward a link to this program to the person you're thinking of right now who you're realizing would really love to hear this program and love you even more for your love and thinking of them. You get it?
I love it.
So take this program and love it, right? Put it out there in the world. We'll even send the email for you. Focused Passion. Remember the ED in there. It's the W's.focusedpassion.com. And as always, thanks a lot for being here. We'll talk to you next week as we continue our Finding Yourself in Paradise series. As always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner. Aloha from Maui.